The air was heavy with the smell of burning cedar, sharp, bitter, choking, as if the breath of 1,000 forgotten gods had been set alight all at once. Then the screams came, high, piercing cries that ripped through the night like blades scraping stone. You can almost see it, shadows fleeing across polished marble courtyards, white robes flashing in torchlight, then darkening to red beneath the cold gaze of the moon. Soldiers laughed as they dragged them out. Rough hands clamped around fragile arms. Armor clashed and rang, drowning out pleas spoken in a tongue that was half Greek, half something older and more Eastern, a mystery Rome never bothered to understand. One by one, the gates gave way. Wood splintered, stone cracked. Inside the inner sanctum, young women, untouched guardians of royal blood, huddled together, whispering prayers to gods who no longer answered. A commander shouted an order, and the night erupted. But understand this: what you're about to hear is not just a story of violence. It involves systematic sexual assault and mass enslavement. These events are recorded by ancient sources, and they are disturbing. If you need to step away, that's understandable. For those who stay, our purpose is not to exploit suffering, but to understand the system that produced it. Because this was not random brutality. This was calculated retribution, a machine engineered by Roman discipline, sharpened by steel, and fueled by long festering grudges. To understand why, we have to go back. In 88 BC, Mithridates VI, king of Pontus, unleashed what became known as the Asiatic Vespers. In a single coordinated night, an estimated 80,000 Roman settlers across Asia Minor were slaughtered. Men, women, children, dragged from their homes, butchered in the streets, hunted down even inside temples. Sanctuaries meant nothing. Blood soaked the same stone roads where Roman merchants had once traded silk, wine, and spice. Rome was already tearing itself apart with internal conflict, but this was an insult it could not ignore. Enter Lucius Cornelius Sulla, a patrician general with a taste for victory and for vengeance. Sulla did not march east merely to restore order. He marched to erase humiliation. The Pontic kingdom, stretching from the Black Sea deep into Anatolia, became his target. Cities allied with Mithridates, including Athens itself, had dared to defy Rome. They hosted Pontic armies. They celebrated Roman deaths. Sulla's answer was war. A war that reached its most violent phase between 87 and 83 BC, as his legions tore through Greece and Asia Minor on their long march back toward Italy. Ancient historians argue over the numbers, but most estimates suggest that between 6,000 and 10,000 women, royal attendants, temple guardians, daughters of noble houses, were violated or enslaved as punishment for alliance with Pontus. It mattered then because it shattered any illusion of restraint. It matters now because it shows how empires turn pain into policy. Picture Rome in the late 2nd century BC, a republic that stretched from Spain to Syria, yet cracked beneath its own weight. Senators bickered endlessly, while ambitious generals built personal armies loyal not to the state, but to their commanders. Power no longer flowed from law, it flowed from legions. Pontus, under Mithridates, was no minor kingdom. It was a Hellenistic powerhouse, blending Persian splendor with Greek intellect. Its armies swelled with mercenaries. Its treasuries overflowed with Black Sea gold, and resentment toward Rome ran deep. Roman tax collectors bled the Asian provinces dry. Local elites watched their wealth siphoned west. Mithridates saw opportunity. Casting himself as a liberator, he invaded Roman territory and promised freedom from exploitation. The Asiatic Vespers were his masterstroke. Secret letters were sent to cities across Asia Minor, ordering them to kill every Roman and Italian resident on a specific day. No exceptions, no mercy. Bodies piled up in Ephesus, Pergamon, Adramyttium. Rome reeled. Sulla, fresh from victories in Africa and Italy, was given command, then briefly stripped of it by political rivals like Gaius Marius. That betrayal triggered Sulla's first march on Rome itself, a shocking act that shattered centuries of tradition. He reclaimed his legions, crossed the Adriatic, and turned Greece into a battlefield. This was not a monster born fully formed. Sulla was forged. Born in 138 BC to a once noble family fallen into obscurity, he grew up on the margins of Rome's elite. He lived among actors, courtesans, and gamblers. He tasted luxury early and learned how easily it vanished. Ambition hardened him. His rise began under Marius during the Jugurthine War, when Sulla outmaneuvered rivals and captured the Numidian king through calculated diplomacy. That success changed him. Then came the social war in Italy, where he crushed rebellious allies and earned fierce loyalty from his troops, and scars that never truly healed. But the Asiatic Vespers changed everything. Reports flooded Rome. Entire families butchered, wealth seized. Roman survivors told stories of terror that ignited public fury. Sulla, now consul, reportedly told his officers, "They struck first, we will strike last." He reshaped his army: higher pay, brutal discipline, networks of informers. Desertion meant death. Loyalty meant reward. Trauma became fuel. Some losses were personal. A distant cousin was killed in Pergamon. Whether or not that truly mattered, it fit the narrative Sulla needed. Vengeance was no longer abstract. It was policy. In 87 BC, Sulla landed in Greece with roughly 30,000 men. Waiting for him were Pontic proxy forces, more than 100,000 strong, commanded by Archelaus, a skilled admiral turned general. Cities wavered, some defected back to Rome. Athens did not. Its ruler, the tyrant Aristion, mocked Sulla from the walls. The siege began that winter. The sun sank low over the Acropolis, casting long shadows across dusty plains. The air choked with smoke, sweat, and unwashed bodies. Inside the city, life went on, barely. Markets still buzzed, though food grew scarce. In a modest house near the Agora, a young woman named Eudoxia moved quietly through the dim light. At 20 years old, she served as a handmaiden in the Pontic royal entourage, sent to strengthen Aristion's court. Her life before the war had been sheltered. Poetry lessons in Synops palaces, tending sacred flames for the goddess, dreaming of a noble marriage. Not this. Her friends gathered close, sharing thin bread and whispered stories to drown out the distant thud of Roman rams battering the gates. "The Romans will tire," someone murmured. Eudoxia nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. Sulla's demands echoed through the city: surrender or starve. Aristion refused, feasting publicly while citizens chewed leather and grass. Sulla answered by digging trenches, diverting rivers, and cutting down sacred groves to build siege engines. His men complained, until he promised plunder. Rumors spread quickly. Women like Eudoxia, symbols of Pontic alliance and royal favor, would be the first taken. She hid a small dagger in the folds of her garment, unsure whether it was meant for defense or something else. The breach came at midnight. Ladders slammed against stone. Shouts erupted. Torches flared. Roman soldiers poured through the city like fire through dry grass. Eudoxia and the others fled to a temple, barricading the doors as screams echoed outside. Families were cut down in the streets. Homes were stripped bare. A centurion smashed the doors. Hands seized arms. Eudoxia fought, but numbers crushed resistance. The night dissolved into terror. At dawn, Athens lay broken. Streets were slick with blood. Bodies lay piled where they had fallen. Sulla ordered the killing stopped at the homes of senators. For everyone else, it was too late. Thousands were dead. Eudoxia and the surviving women were chained and marched out. This was never about her alone. It was about sending a message, breaking alliances, teaching cities the price of betrayal. And the machine was only getting started. The sack of Athens was not the end. It was a demonstration. What followed spread outward like a shockwave, rolling across Greece and into the open countryside, where Mithridates' armies still maneuvered. Sulla did not linger. Once the message had been delivered, he pivoted north. His scouts brought word that Archelaus was regrouping in Boeotia, drawing together the last great Pontic force on Greek soil.